Hey, how are you doing? Well, my name is Victor Barron. I know, not the coolest name, but it's the one I got. If you're here, thanks for listening. Everybody needs to have somebody hear their story every once in a while, so they know that they exist, that the world kind of cares who they are, and stuff like that. Me, I'm your typical high school student. 16 years old. All I do is go to school and try to spend time with my friends when I can. I like lots of different things. Music, TV, movies, video games. But more than anything, one of my favorite things is martial arts. Most people like a good action movie. But as far as I'm concerned, if it doesn't have karate in it, it's not action. I saw one kung fu movie when I was a little kid, and from that point forward, I was hooked. And unlike most people whose devotion to martial art flicks only extends to watching them, that just wasn't good enough for me. Watching wasn't good enough. I wanted to be a martial artist. And so I started putting effort into it. And here I am at 16, and I officially just won my first championship and attained my first black belt in the Sao Yun style of Relentless Fist. Trust me, this was not easy to do. It took a lot of hard work. As far as other things go, I'm fairly popular. I mean, people seem to like me. After all, I think I'm a likable guy. Being a champion martial artist probably doesn't hurt either. But despite everything else in my life, I'd say the most interesting thing about me is that recently I may or may not have been bitten by a werewolf. You know, small thing, neither here nor there. But for some reason, when people hear about it, they just want to make a big deal out of it. So what? I'm a little bit of a werewolf. I mean, I'm still a nice guy. And I know, you're thinking, oh, scary werewolf. Get the silver bullets and pitchfork, he'll bite us. I don't want to be eaten by a werewolf. Get him. Arr. That type stuff. But I assure you that's not how it works. You're perfectly safe. I'm not going to bite you. And aside from all the negative press that werewolves get, I gotta say, I am thoroughly enjoying the experience. Being a werewolf is freaking awesome. I have super strength, super speed, super senses. Dude, I can smell a hamburger cooking from a mile away. I can walk into an apartment building and hear conversations on 5 different floors and see, regardless of how dark it is. It's awesome. The only fallback being when somebody lets one rip. That's the only time when having a super sense of smell kind of works against you. And I've been spending a lot of time trying to figure things out. Primarily being that there's a lot more to being a werewolf than I would have ever expected. And it definitely does not work like it does in the movies. Not even close. Aside from the big, furry, and terrifying part. That part's 100% accurate. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this position. I mean, becoming a werewolf isn't a normal thing. And I know there's a bunch of you probably saying that, oh, werewolves aren't real, that's just fiction. Trust me, I was right there with you. If before all this happened, someone had strolled up to me and told me that I was going to be a werewolf, I'd have laughed in their face. I'd have laughed and pointed. But trust me, it's real. And a little bit too real for most. I'm still fairly new at it, but I'm beginning to make a name for myself. People are starting to learn who I am, which is kind of good because there's some werewolf political issues that I've been having to deal with. Werewolf politics. Who knew, right? That's not really my forte, though. Whenever they start droning on, I kind of feel like falling asleep. that's just way too slow paced for me. Yeah, I'm a fast paced sort of guy. But I know right now the question burning in all of your minds is, how the heck did I become a werewolf? I know most of you have probably never seen one, and didn't really believe they were real. Well, that's really what this story's about. I mean, it covers a lot of things in my life. But, first and foremost, primarily, this is the story of how I became a movie monster. It all started a little over 6 months ago. I had recently won my first championship in martial arts. I was totally stoked about it. I had woken up that morning, fairly early, grabbed myself some breakfast before my parents got up. They tended to be at work a lot. You know, they were your average sort of working Joes. My mom was a nurse, and my dad worked for animal control. I know, a little weird when your dad works for animal control and his son's a werewolf. But that hasn't happened yet, so ironic or not, let's just pass it by for the moment. They were still in bed, as they tended to work long hours. So I grabbed myself a couple PB&Js, a Caesar salad that my mom had packed for me, and took off on my way to school. I was actually pretty psyched to talk to my friends about my new championship belt. I am the champion. Sorry, I tend to be corny from time to time. My friends actually think it's a good quality. I arrived at school, with my friends Lisa and Steve, of course, waiting for me. We tended to hang out for a while before classes started. That way we could chit-chat about what was going on, you know, our plans and things like that. Usually it just amounted to goofing off, watching a movie, or some event like a concert that we were all planning on going to. Quite frankly, a lot of the kids in school were really psyched about the new Vicky Voice album coming out, and the tour that she was doing. Everybody was planning on catching it. Me, Lisa, and Steve were simply outside, waiting on the school bell to start ringing, before we rushed to class in the last minute. And that's when it happened. That's when I saw the new girl. And let me tell you, as far as looks go, she was drop dead gorgeous. Her style was a little bit gothic for my taste, but that did not at all affect her looks. Long black hair, equally long legs, and her outfit was on point. She wore a number of dangly charms of different sorts around her neck and wrists. All of them look like typical steel charms. Some of them actually look pretty fancy, having little gems or diamonds inside of them. I'm not sure whether they were real or not, or at least I wasn't at that point. But regardless, they looked good on her. Walking up in a slightly short-cut black skirt, and black stockings of all things, she approached our little group of friends. Hello? My name's Renee. I'm kinda new here. I was hoping one of you could tell me exactly where science is. That's my first class for the day, she said as she gently pulled strands of that long black hair of hers back behind her neck, adjusting it somewhat as it hung very low, almost to her midsection. Yet there wasn't a single split end or break anywhere. Her hair was perfectly maintained, and she seemed to be wearing some interesting earrings. Once again, steel, multiple piercings through one of her ear. It was like some sort of matching set, but all worn on one ear, each ear having its own individual set of piercings in it, that were all really cute when they worked together. Actually, I've got science first hour too. I mean, if you wanted to, you could follow me to class. And my name's Victor, by the way. It's nice to meet you, Renee. And just like that, my story began with a girl.